and welcome back to another episode of the Technically Human podcast. I am joined today by special guest Alan Lazaros, and Alan is going to share with us some great insights and information. Alan is a co founder of Next Level University. And what I would like to ask first, Alan, is if you can give us a little self intro, if you can share a little bit about yourself and your story before we dig in.
First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Like,
11 years ago, I started a little company called Alan Lazaros LLC, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. And I wanted to bring personal development, self-improvement, and personal growth to the masses. And it was crickets. So I'm very grateful now to have people care. So thank you for anyone listening, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. As far as my intro goes, I'm the CEO, as you mentioned, of Next Level University. Kevin and I, my business partner, joke. He's a podcaster who tolerates coaching. I'm a coach who tolerates podcasting. So I do love podcasting, but I like the one-on-one better. I have over 7,000 hours of one-on-one coaching now over the last 11 years. And so that's what I primarily am. I'm a coach who also podcasts. He's a podcaster who also coaches. And we're both very grateful. Thank you for having me. And with those 7,000 hours over the last 11 years, I've met people from all over the world, all different industries, all different backgrounds. I started out mindset coaching and fitness coaching, and then it was peak performance coaching for many years there. And then it was a little bit of life coaching. I got rid of that quickly. It was business consulting, and now it's business coaching. So as I told you, dream come true. I just got my 30th client. That's the most I've ever had on my roster at any one time, but it's been dozens, hundreds probably at this point over the years. And hopefully because I've been with that many people from that many countries, from that many places, industries, backgrounds, all that, I can provide some good insights here.
Thank you. So, Alan, one of the things I saw when I was looking at information about you was a story that you had in your life that really was a turning point for you. And I want to let you know that a lot of individuals that are listening to this podcast are likely individuals who are going through that or have been through that recently in their life. A lot of individuals listening have been either hit by uncertainty in their career, the economy, just a lot of different things with technology happening. There's a lot of uncertainty, or maybe something in their life has happened and they're taking a step back and thinking, is this really what I want to do with my life? And even myself and my own story, when I got laid off, I took some time, thought I had to go exactly back to what I was doing, but paused and thought, what do I really want to do? What do I get passion out of? And I know you talk a lot about that. Just wanted to see if you could share a little bit about your personal story and how that really changed your life and how you look at what you're doing, forward looking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I did the traditional path. So I was born and raised in Massachusetts. I'm still in Massachusetts. The traditional path in the U.S., particularly the Northeast, but all across the U.S., is preschool, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, corporate. And you did that, and I did that, and I did very well at that. But then I got in a car accident that you're referring to when I was 26. So circling back to tell the story, I was born in 1988, and in 1991, my birth father was named John McCorkle. So you'll notice he has a different last name than me. It was Jim, Joe, John, Jane, Joan, Jeanette. 6 kids, all J. And unfortunately, my birth father, John McCorkle, died in a car when he was 28. This is in 1991 when I was almost 3. I had a sister who was 6, mom who was 31, stay-at-home mom at the time, and that was just tragic, very sudden, out of nowhere, not good. So from 3 to 14, 1992, the early 2000s, I had a stepfather named Steve Lazaros. He worked for a company called AGFA. They did hospital computers during the dot-com era. And you remember the 90s. The 90s were wild economic growth, dot-com bubble stuff. And so he did hospital computers during the dot-com era. We did very well. Boats and ski trips and snowmobiles, and mom drove a BMW. We grew up on a lake, that whole thing. And so from the outside in, my life looked awesome. From the inside out, my mom and stepdad did not get along. That's a polite way to put it. He left my family at 14. 2 trauma responses I had to that. The 4 trauma responses I now know. At the time, I didn't know this. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And I think we all live in 2 worlds, the social world and the real world. So in the social world, it's your reputation. The real world is how you feel about yourself when you wake up in the morning. Social world is Instagram account, real world is the bank account. Social world is the wedding photos, real world is the actual marriage. In the social world, I became this sort of coward. Don't lose any more friends and family. And the reason why is when my stepdad left, he took his entire extended family with him. I've never seen or spoken to a single one of them since. I talked to him a little bit on Facebook Messenger in my 20s and a little bit in my 30s. Never seen the man. Same year, sister moves out with her older boyfriend. Now, remember, we're trying to be the Lazaroses, quote unquote, so I don't really associate much with the McCorkles anymore. My mom gets in a fight with my Aunt Sandy, her sister. We get ostracized from her side of the family. So I kind of lost 3 full families by the time I'm 14.
Wow. A lot.
So my 2 trauma responses to that was, number 1 was social coward. Just chameleon, fit in, don't lose any more friends and family. Be what everyone else needs you to be. The appeaser, right? Mm-hmm. But behind the scenes, when no one was watching, it was aim higher, work harder, get smarter. I became this super achiever. Because not only did he take his entire extended family with him, but he also took all the income. So we went from boats and ski trips to, I get free lunch at school now because our income is so low. My mom trades in her BMW for a little Honda Civic. I don't have cable. We're not going to starve, but it's not what it was. I go from I hope I get into college. My dream college was WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. It's like a mini MIT in Massachusetts. And it was $50,000 a year back then. So I went from I hope I get in, engineering school, really competitive, to even if I do get in, I can't go. So I'm 14 and I'm going, no generational wealth, no trust fund, no dad. If it's going to be, it's up to me. And fortunately, aim higher, work harder, get smarter was my trauma response. I got straight A's through all of high school. I got what's called the President's Award signed by George W. Bush behind me. And I got all the scholarships and financial aid that I could. I was the obnoxious kid at the award ceremony that never sat down. And then I got into WPI. I got my computer engineering degree. I got my master's in business. And I went into corporate. And I crushed it. Tech company, stock market, the whole thing. I became a global 1% earner in my early 20s. I paid off $84,000 worth of college debt in a single year. And then I just put all the rest of it into a Vanguard account, different stocks, because I always knew tech. I built my first computer when I was 12. I was a nerdy gamer, semi-pro gamer, and I just understood tech, so I knew, no one knows, but I knew what companies would win, and I was very right about a lot of that. And I was in industrial automation, and I eventually landed at a company called Cognex. So I basically went from $65K a year to 180 with several increments over my corporate career. And my corporate career was probably only 5 years, 6 years maybe. Internships, the whole thing. So iRobots, Sensata Technologies, a little company called Oz Development, software as a service company, Tyco Safety Products. I eventually landed at a company called Cognex. At this point, I was used to being broke, so I didn't have much. My rent was $500. I split with my girlfriend. I drove a 2004 Volkswagen Passat because I refused to buy depreciating assets. I bought it in $5,000 cash. That car ended up saving my life, by the way. And I just didn't need much because I learned how to go without when my stepdad left. So I just put it all in index funds and stocks. Then I get in my car accident. So I'm 26 at the time. This is 2015. Head-on collision, 30 miles an hour. A lift-kitted pickup truck went up and over my car. And fortunately, I was driving that 2004 Volkswagen Passat. I used to call it the Tank. This was a steel trap of a car, German-engineered car. I called it the Tank. Totally saved my life. The lift-kitted pickup truck went up and over us. Both of them completely totaled. 30 miles an hour, not a fender bender. This was intense. Fortunately, no one was killed because it would have been my fault. I was supposed to yield but didn't. The yield sign was covered by the snowbanks back in 2015. And my second cousin, Dan, I've only seen her spoken to 2 human beings from my mom's side since that fight she got with her sister. Seen no people from my stepdad's side. Went back to the McCorkles a bit, and that was never really the same. But little cousin, second cousin, 17 at the time, he thinks not much of this. He was tweeting about it that night. I'm messed up. Physically, I'm okay. Physically, everyone was okay. Rattled, definitely rattled, but no permanent damage. But this is the second chance my dad never got. I'm 26 at the time. My dad died at 28 in a car. And I'm just
Oh
going,
gosh.
okay. And so I was sitting in a armchair that night contemplating my existence. This was my 21st century quarter life crisis. If that was it, would I be proud of the man I became? Would I be proud of the meaningful life I lived? Would it even have been a meaningful life? Did I reach my full potential? And the answer was no. And so the last piece I'll share here is, since then, it's become very clear to me that I was achiever and I did very well. And people are like, why do you beat yourself up? You did so well. You made so many good choices. No, I rested on talent. I wasn't putting it all on the court, baby. And so I promised myself 11 years ago I would do all I can with all I have every single day. I have not taken a single day off in 11 years. Now, most people think that's bad. They're like, oh, that's bad for you, all that stuff. Sometimes I get R&R. I do self-care. I track my sleep. Like, it's not about that. To me, it's a mission. It's a purpose. It's a calling. And you mentioned passion. I want to help people reach their full potential, and I want to reach my full potential. And that's what I do every day now. And I started a company called Alan Lazaros, LLC, what you'll never learn in school but desperately need to know. And now I realize I was selling kale outside of a candy store on the internet. No one cares about personal development, unfortunately. But yeah, it's the same stuff you do. Career dev, business dev, time management, productivity, finance, fitness, health, wealth, love, fitness, food, family, all this stuff. We didn't learn any of this in school. And I think that sucks. And I think school did very well in many things. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, and finance. Thank you. Did very well. But there was some serious stuff missing. Courage, humility, vulnerability, character, goal setting, timelines, targets, time management. None of that was taught. So I'm here to rectify that on planet Earth.
Thank you for that. So I have two follow-up questions that I was thinking of. One is that I've been through, and I know other individuals have been through some of those periods in their life where, like you said, you're sitting at that armchair at night and you're like, what the heck? Is this where I want to go? Is this the direction I want to go? Is this what I want to be known for? A lot of people are challenged with, if it's not, then what is? So would you share, like, how did you determine what that really was for you? And what did that path look like? And I guess I'm going to ask if it was easy. I'm going to guess it wasn't. But how did you keep going when it got hard?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy. After the car accident, I had post-traumatic stress disorder stuff going on. I was never clinically diagnosed or anything, but I was claustrophobic. Getting back in a car was really hard. Double yellow lines scared me. I got pulled over several times because I was too far on my side of the road because I didn't want to cross the double yellows again. So they were very kind to me. I popped my tire a few times because I was too far on the right side. So it was definitely not easy. But the personal development, self-improvement, and professional development and that kind of stuff, like, I went down the rabbit hole. The Stephen Coveys and the Tony Robbins, the Jim Rohns, the Og Mandinos, the Napoleon Hills, all that stuff. And a lot of that is horse crap too, honestly. But it is, I think the only wrong answer would be to stop searching. So that would be where I would start. And I just was very existential. Existential means you're constantly questioning your existence. Who am I? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And those whispers are there. And sometimes we don't listen to them. And so in hindsight, it's obvious. I was always very coachy. I was the coachy friend. I helped everyone with their resume. I mock interviewed people. It's obvious in hindsight. We don't have anyone to actually study us and say, hey, you're really good at this thing. And you're drawn to it. And it's a gift. And usually we hide the things we're gifted in because they make other people insecure. So that's another piece, right? The numbers piece, math was always easy peasy lemon squeezy for me. And now I coach some multimillionaires, and it's alarming how little math they know, to be honest. I'm not joking. It's alarming. But that's because I'm naturally good at finance, apparently. And I say apparently because I never considered that.
Never thought of it that.
Yeah, I never thought of it. So I think that the answer would be, number one, it wasn't easy. Number two, I'm Alan version 3.7, so I'm 37 years old. As a computer engineer, I'm smarter than I used to be, but not as smart as I'm going to be. I definitely don't have all the answers. I don't want to talk from some mountaintop, but what I do know is I'm exponentially more aware than when I was 2.7 and exponentially more aware than when I was 1.7. Holy crap. So the only wrong answer is to stop asking these questions. And I think that's the thing, right? I got all the humble pie at once in that car accident. And humble pie is good for us. Humble pie is when you sit there and go, I am wildly unfulfilled. And once you accept that, once you admit that, it's time to work on it. Okay, you drink too much and too often. You have terrible friends. You need to sail away from toxic people. You need to start getting to the gym. You need to start taking your health more seriously. You need to stop drinking alcohol, right? So it was this slow process of, for me, fitness was where I started. I started out fitness model, fitness competitor, fitness coach. I did a bunch of fitness shows. I did 43 photo shoots, and I fitness coached for a long time. It was actually really great. And my whole world was fitness. And fitness and personal development, really. And then eventually it was mindset, and then eventually it was peak performance, and then eventually it was business, and now it's mostly business. But I still incorporate all that stuff today. So you got to figure out and look at your past and go, what are the common patterns? What are the patterns? I was always super coachy. If you were my friend, we always talked goals and dreams. Always. Always. I didn't want to talk about anything else. So there's patterns. You just need to look. And a lot of times the gold is buried where you least want to dig. For me, the gold was buried in self-awareness. I didn't want to face my past. All the stuff I told you about my dad and my stepdad, I wasn't even able to talk about that in my 20s, right? I've since worked on all that. And now I can not only say it to myself, and because I've worked through that, but also share it here publicly. That's a lot. A lot of people, if you talked to me 15 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to talk about my dad's death like that. I avoided it unconsciously without knowing it. And so the gold is buried where you least want to dig, but that's where the answers are. And they're there. And it's messy, and it's muddy, and it's painful. But on the other side of that is a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity. So the last piece, I always say this, the deep, dark holes we find ourselves in, I've been in several of them, some by my own making, and a lot the world throwing it at me or life throwing it at me. Also, the tools, the skills, the character, the grit, the perseverance to climb out of those holes also build skyscrapers. And debt is a good metaphor for this. When you are in too much debt and then you get a plan together and you climb out of that hole, all of a sudden now you're in the gravy, baby. Now it's unbelievable. There's no holes in the boat. So a lot of our greatness starts out in massive pain and suffering. A lot of what we're amazing at now is because we had no choice and our back was up against the wall in something. I just try to remember that, and most importantly, stay humble while I'm winning, because I know that next dark day is coming. And I think most people celebrate when they're winning. I don't like to do that. I like to hang on to hope and optimism when it's dark, and hang on to humility when it's light, because that next tough day is coming no matter how big of a quarter you just had. So I'm coming off my biggest quarter. We're doing very well. I'm very grateful, but
Congratulations.
Thank you. And that ain't it for me. That's not it. I want to stay humble and centered in that, because you can get cocky really quick if you're not careful.
Yeah. One of the things that you had mentioned just a little bit ago was talking about the schools not teaching certain skills that are helpful for as you're growing up, not teaching courage, not teaching even like the resume writing or goals or things like that. And I worry that the fact that we don't have those pieces in schools. Some schools have little pieces of them embedded now, but not to the degree that they should at all. But when it comes to people hitting these areas of uncertainty or times in their life where they're starting to really take a step back and think about, how do I move forward? I feel like not knowing and not having the insight of these skills and these types of things are going to help you to go forward,
Yeah.
make people hesitant to invest in it. And I'm wondering if there is somebody who's listening and they're like, something's got to change, and I know there's something different. how would you talk to them about the value of investing in that coaching or
Yeah.
whatever that training is to get them to move off the fence and to take some action?
And I'm leading by example on this because I don't want to be another talking head. And quite frankly, the other piece of this too is you got to be careful because a lot of the things that, on one hand, you absolutely 100% need to invest in yourself. Why would someone renovate a house they didn't believe in, right? Why would someone renovate a house and improve a house they didn't think would appreciate in value, grow in value? So that's key. Be careful in the 21st century. A lot of people out there are full of it. Be very careful. So that said, I bought a enterprise building course probably 3 or 4 months ago now, and it was $1,500. I know that I'll make that money back and then some. And it was a great course. So number one, it has to actually be a great course. It was a very credible person who I've slowly, first I bought his book, then stay skeptical. If you are naive, you're screwed. Straight up. I was super naive. Okay? Naivete will kill you. All right, so get rid of naive. I'd rather you be cynical than naive, okay? But don't be too cynical either. All right. But anyways, invest in yourself, yes. Make sure you start small. So books are the best place to start. Audible, I bought the year, and I think it's 12 credits, one per month. Honestly, there's 130 million books on Google, apparently, according to Google. Most of them are garbage, genuinely. But there are some that are really freaking good. Ask someone who has success and who has character. We call it character and competence at our company. We would rather have a green yellow than a yellow green. And what I mean by that is character first needs to be green. And you also have to be competent. Because we've had people that are really competent that are not of strong character. Yeah. And we've also had a green red, which we've had to fire. Actually, recently, believe it or not. Because it's like, you're such a good person. But, oh my goodness, you're wildly incompetent.
Yeah.
Anyways, the point is, though, you got to invest in yourself, even when it's hard. But you got to start small and build and make sure you're careful about where you invest your money. Because some of these coaches are like, hey, 10 grand, throw it on a credit card, you'll make that back. No, you won't. It depends. I have a client who did 9 million last year. If I get him from 9 to 12 million, that's a big spread. Okay, but I also have someone who can't afford that. It's all predicated. The amount you invest in yourself needs to be predicated on your current income. So I always say 10% of goal gross. So if your goal is to make 100K, just to make the numbers easy, this year, invest 10,000. Make sure you have 10,000 cash on hand. Okay, that's an emergency fund is what it's called, but 10,000 cash on hand. And then after that, everything above that waterline, you can invest 10% in your personal development. But do not invest 50 grand when you only make 50 grand. That's a terrible idea. It should be a percentage of your income. And when you earn more, you get to invest more. And then when you invest more, you earn more. It's supposed to be a virtuous cycle. And I wish that I was taught that earlier, because at the beginning, I think I just was so naive. I spent a lot of money on my personal development. And 20% of it was world class. 80% of it was hot garbage.
Yeah. And that's what I feel like people are either in that they have that little bit of cynicism and not sure if they go forward and then they hold back, or maybe they're too much and it's messy, muddy, painful, and it's not time. How do you decide when it's time?
Yeah, I use something called an optimal stopping problem. It's an engineering term for when do you park when you're on your way to the concert. The closer you get to the venue, the less likely there's a spot, that kind of thing. It's Goldilocks, too much, too little. One time I had a client, and I found out through the grapevine that this client was in 90 grand worth of debt. And it wasn't healthy debt, it was high interest debt. She told me she was in no debt. And I was and again, she wasn't my client anymore, but I was like, oh no. All the advice I gave her was wrong then. Advice is predicated on circumstances. Advice is predicated on goals. If you have a goal to gain weight to build muscle, eating more is constructive. If you have a goal to lose weight and burn fat, eating more is destructive. It's predicated on the goal. So the optimal stopping, like how do you know when? You got to dial it. Aristotle used to say, who can do the right thing in the right time, in the right amount, for the right reasons, with the right people? No. Who can do the optimal thing at the optimal time in the optimal amount with the optimal people for the optimal reasons, knowing that it'll never be optimal. That's why I said the 3.7 thing. Alan 3.7 is far more optimal in his decision-making paradigm than Alan version 2.7. But I do this in speeches all the time. I've been able to speak all over the world virtually. And I always say, who here can think of something worst idea ever they did in high school? Every hand goes up. I've got a doozy. I'm not going to share it. I said, why did you make that decision? Because you didn't know the long-term consequences and or the potential long-term consequences. For me, luckily that worked out. But we're idiots in high school. Everyone's an idiot in high school. There are no deeply fulfilled marriages at 17. You don't know anything. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Life is long. And we get smarter and wiser with age, hopefully. And usually that's through failing forward and experience. So to answer your question of like, how do people know? If you have 100 grand sitting in the bank and your expenses are only 80 grand, invest 20 grand in your personal development and see if you can get 150. But if you have no money and you're in massive credit card debt, do not buy someone's $10,000 course that promises you'll get rich on the internet. Like that, it all comes down to circumstances and goals. And one of the things that's been really hard for me to realize, this is wicked depressing for me. I used to believe in everybody. I was honestly naive. Okay? I didn't realize that some people are too lazy to win. They don't have, we call it a willingness score. And now I have a big radar for this because for the longest time, I was trying to have everyone climb Mount Everest with me, right? Worst idea ever. So I've learned over the years who not to coach because it's going to be bad for me and bad for them because they're not going to do anything with it. Now I have a whole acronym. I have a whole filtration system, green, yellow, red, of people that I don't talk to or speak with under any circumstances. You made it through, by the way. My filter. I have already followed you on Instagram. Like, I know who to look out for. Yeah, of course. But in the beginning, it was, save the world. No matter how much you're a disrespectful prick, right? And I don't do that anymore. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. So, Alan, before we wrap up and I have you share information of where people can reach you and what opportunities that you have available, I want to ask you one last question. And when we think about the name of this podcast being Technically Human, there is so much in the world with technology and advancements and AI and everything else. And one of the things I want to showcase through my episodes is how do we stay human despite all of that? Would just love your thoughts and your input on that.
I have been so surprised at how much I am on this end. I'm so with you, it's not even funny. I worked at iRobot. A lot of people know the Roomba, that company. They're headquartered in Bedford, Massachusetts. I worked at iRobot when I was 19. Like, self-driving cars, I've been waiting for a decade and a half. It's shocking to me that it's taken this long, to be completely honest. I have a self-driving car. It's really unbelievable. But I was the techie who built his first computer. Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, Apple versus Microsoft. I was like the super nerd. And I don't want to say I hate AI. I am so alarmingly not on the end that I thought I'd be on. At our company specifically, Next Level University, I'm like human connection, belonging, and community. Now, I'm all for automation and improving life. I'm all for effectiveness and doing things in less time. I'm all for that. But if I get another AI message on an email, if you can't write your own emails, what are we doing?
Right.
Human beings, what's the difference between art and science? I don't want to talk to a cyborg. I want to talk to a human being. Now, if it's not front-facing and no one's ever going to see it, I think AI is the best learning tool. I think it's unbelievable for learning. And I've learned so much. I'm all for it, okay? But at my company, you're going to talk to a human being. If you DM me, it's going to be me. It's going to actually be me. Try me. You can DM me. It's going to be Alan Lazaros, not my EA, not some AI bot. It's going to be me. And so I'm very much pro effectiveness, pro time management, pro accomplish more in less time, pro leverage. And I think the future is community, belonging, and human connection. And I think the companies that get that right are going to win forever.
Yeah. And I feel like I've seen a lot more people starting to search for that again.
Yes.
I know even COVID, the pandemic, technology has kind of
Yep.
tried to kill that in a way, but I feel like people are searching for it again.
Yeah, it's no longer a commodity, right? The commodity is, there was a time where, you remember, me and you go to the library, the Dewey Decimal System, you got to research encyclopedias. So now the commodity is knowledge. You know what's not a commodity anymore? Human connection. So get that, especially podcasters. You can do unbelievable. We have a community of 56, I think it's 57 now. It's called the Next Level Fitness Accountability Group. I'm in there every day. Nobody wants some robot saying, hey, work out today. They want someone who leads by example. We're human beings who are tribal, and we want a tribe leader, and we want a tribe, and we want a community. There's a great book called Tribal Leadership. We want to feel a part of something bigger than ourselves, and you can create that and automate. But it needs to be in that order, right? It's not automate and create that. It's create that and automate. And I think syntax matters. So our priority at my company is Next Level You, pun intended. And it's about people first. We always say, we help real people in the real world. It's funny that we even have to say that. I was at a masterclass on finance last night. I teach them every month. And I said, humans only. This year, maybe a little bit last year, the first time I've ever had to say no AI allowed. This is going to be only humans today. I've actually had to start announcing that because people have their note takers and these AI bots have been trying to get into our Zoom meetings and all this stuff. What a fascinating world we live in where it's like, everyone's, Alan, is it recorded? No. Nope. If you want to be there, you have to be there. And I'll send you the notes, right? But not the AI notes, but my actual physical notes. It's just weird. It's gotten weird. Human beings in the 21st century needs to be the epicenter of your world because fulfillment for all of us comes from connection, meaning, love, community. And I thought I'd be the tech guy. I thought I'd be like, AI, I'm not going to do anything myself. No, I have a self-driving car and that's wonderful, but you better believe I'm putting human beings and heart at the center of everything I do.
Right. Thank you for that. So to wrap up, Alan, would you just share a little bit about how people would connect with you, maybe a little bit about what's going on with Next Level You, so people can gain some insight there?
Yeah, so if I haven't scared you off yet, this is what I open with is, and thank you so much again. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. If you don't want to work, you're going to hate me. Like, if you have low work ethic, we are not going to get along. I do not have that entitlement, like 4-hour work week. I think that's all nonsense. I really do. If you have real work ethic and real humility and you want to make a meaningful difference in the world and be very successful and you're ready to really work, then you will love NLU, you'll love what we do. But what I would say is Kevin and I decided early on when we started realizing we're selling kale outside a candy store, because on the internet, the top YouTube channels are very affirming. They're very, it's like mental candy that just makes you dumber, right? And Kevin and I, early on in our podcasting journey, we had to make a decision. And we had to realize that we're not going to go for clickbaity stuff. We're going to focus on fundamentals. So it's success and personal development in your pocket from anywhere on the planet every single day, completely free. That is Next Level University. But here's what I'll tell you. The world and the internet has gotten very overly affirming. This podcast is not going to affirm you. You are not more successful because you don't believe enough in what you already believe. You are not more successful, particularly young people, because you have massive blind spots. Myself included. Yourself, others in the world. You just don't understand. You're like a self-driving car that keeps driving off a cliff because you think it's a road and then blaming the world or blaming the government or blaming your mom. And at the end of the day, Kevin and I had just decided if you don't seek truth and big, hefty feedback mirrors, you are not going to listen to our show. You are not going to like us, and that's okay. If you really want real success in real life, not on Instagram, but real life, we are definitely for you. And if I haven't scared you off by now, you can check it out. And I think that it'll be very powerful. But yeah, we had to decide early on that we had to go a different way than where the world was headed because we got freaked out by, we're old school. We came from nothing. We both didn't have dads. We both were raised by 2 women. We were both broke as a joke growing up. And we saw the internet going off on this whole, I don't know, shake your booty on Instagram for followers, and we just couldn't have it. We couldn't have it. So we're trying to be the male role models we never had. And that means telling you we'll be respectful and 4-hour work week. Get out of here with that, right? No.
And I know that people appreciate that authenticity too and the reality of it. Because, like even you said, the 4-hour work week, it's come on. Somebody had said recently to me, they're like, I went and got an $80 resume. Somebody write my resume for $80. And then they come to me after, and I was like, you got $80 for the crap that you got. So, yeah. Yep.
I'm
Being real with them, not sugarcoating it.
sure they had
And
ChatGPT write it.
yeah.
I had to decide, I think this was probably 6 or 7 years ago, where I had to decide, I saw where the internet was headed, and I had to decide, do I want to be liked or do I want to help people transform their life? I read a book, it's called The 33 Ways to Be Liked, and I deleted it almost immediately. It might as well be The 33 Ways to Lose Your Soul. But the truth of the matter is, I just had to decide, I'm an engineer, I'm not very likable, but that's okay. I have to do what I believe is actually going to help people really transform. And I tell my clients, I care more about your future than your feelings. And
Yeah.
that's who I am, and I have to own that. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I hope I was respectful, but also I hope you take this seriously because, yeah, I don't know, my childhood was tough, and the only reason I got out of it is because of the fundamentals of hard work and vision and goal orientation. None of it was easy. None of it's ever going to be easy. Not a chance.
I thank you again for coming on and being a guest. And for anyone who would love to connect, please do. And Next Level University, I was on your website looking around and so many great resources there. So definitely encourage our listeners to check out what you have there, what you offer. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for listening. And we will catch you on the next episode.